back to another episode of Southern Woke.
I'm Marina.
And I'm Kaylin.
Alright, you guys, today we are kind of doing a part 2 to one of our most popular episodes we've ever done, and it was only our second one ever, and that is the one on Epstein.
Alright, y'all that have been with us for a while now, y'all probably remember our second episode was our Epstein episode, and we really covered just all about Jeffrey Epstein's life and all the conspiracies surrounding his death, of course, and then, of course, we talked about all of his different victims and really made their voices heard. Well, today we want to still talk a little bit about Epstein, but we also really want to talk about... I don't even want to even try to say her name because it's so many different ways.
Come on, you've heard it enough by now. Ghislaine. Thought it's Ghislaine.
See, this is why we called her Giraffe Maxwell in the first episode.
Well, we'll just be referring to her as Maxwell through most of this, so that makes it easy.
Alright, y'all, but we really want to focus on his assistant, air quotes, Maxwell.
Yeah, so just in case it's maybe been a while since you've heard details of the case, or maybe you've never heard of it at all, which I doubt at this point. But here's just like a little timeline of all the arrests and charges with these two. So on July 6th of 2019, Epstein was arrested in New Jersey after returning from France on a private jet. Federal charges accuse Epstein of trafficking a vast network of underage girls for sex. He kills himself in a New York jail cell 36 days after his arrest. Or does he? So, okay, July 3rd, 2020. British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested at her luxurious compound on 156 acres in Bradford, New Hampshire. And rumor is she had a husband there. Yeah, because you know how she like fled after Epstein's whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, she like was hiding out in this New Hampshire compound and had like a new husband.
Is that like the place she bought under a fake name and everything?
I don't know all that.
I saw she bought some place, it probably is the exact same place, and she bought it all under like a fake name, and she said it wasn't to like hide her from the authorities, but to hide from the press.
I wouldn't be surprised. This bougie ass like sounds like she would do something like that. So Maxwell tried to flee when the FBI arrived at her home. When agents went to arrest Maxwell on her property, they broke through her locked gate, approached the front door, and announced themselves, telling her to open the door. Through a window, they saw her ignore their order and flee to another room, shutting the door behind her.
Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm not Team Maxwell at all. I'm very biased going into this. Let me just put that out there. But
just imagine the FBI at your door and you're just like, I'm gonna go to my bedroom right now. I don't have time for this.
You know she definitely denies doing that. She's like, I did not run whenever y'all knocked, and they're like, yo, we got you on camera right here.
Oh my god. So, the charges accuse her of befriending girls as young as 14 and enticing them into having sexual relations with Epstein. One alleged victim said that she controlled the girls and was like their madam. Prosecutors claim the abuse occurred in locations around the world, including Maxwell's London home. Of course, she pleads not guilty. So on March 29th, 2021, two new U.S. federal charges of sex trafficking, conspiracy, and sex trafficking of a minor are filed against Maxwell, adding to the 6 she already faced. Prosecutors say a 4th victim has been identified. The victim was allegedly abused in 2001 when she was 14. Maxwell denies those charges. Then, April 23rd, 2021. Maxwell appears in court for the first time, pleading not guilty to multiple charges of sex abuse, sex trafficking, and perjury. What does that mean? Like, does that mean, like, destroying evidence or something?
It's like lying under oath.
Oh, not the same. Okay. Her defense lawyers argue that the conditions in her Brooklyn jail are inhumane and argue that she is being treated horribly. She is denied bail. Good. Because, mind you, she went to them and said, I'll pay like $5 million in bail if y'all get me out of here. They said no. Then she came back a few months later with $25.6 million offered. And they still said no. Because she was such a risk. Like, she had a passport, she had, like, private jets, she could just flee. And they knew she would.
Why is that even a thing that we can, like, offer up amounts of money to get out of jail? Like, why is that an okay thing?
Let's just be thankful that the government did something they should have done and denied it.
Yeah, thank God.
Because for a lot of high-profile people, they probably wouldn't have. Or they would, wouldn't have denied it.
And she wanted to be out of jail so bad. She 100% would have ran.
I know. And, I think her poor conditions stated that, like, the officers would shine the light in her eyes when she slept.
Let's go, officers.
And that they would watch her use the toilet. And that, her food was rotten. Just things like that, you know. But she also had 2 phones, a computer, and access to her own private shower. I'm pretty sure. So, like, this bitch.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for you.
Whew. Okay, so finally, here we are, November 29th, 2021. The Maxwell trial begins in New York, where she has been in jail ever since her arrest. So, you know, I didn't even really realize this trial was coming up so soon because it had been put off for so long. But here we are. And over the past 2 weeks, prosecutors have sought to portray her as an accomplice to Epstein, a convicted sex offender, calling them partners in crime who had built a pyramid scheme of abuse. So, like, everything that happened before today was the prosecutors and the witnesses, like, pleading their case. And today, as we're recording this on, December 16th, her defense trial begins. And, I am itching to figure out what happens. But anyways, the opening arguments began 2 weeks ago, and the trial was predicted to last up to 6 weeks. But that timeline could now move up, which is shocking, because I feel like a case like this you would think would be dragged on.
The prosecution thought that their case was going to last for so much longer than it actually did.
I know, which means, like, I wonder how many setbacks caused. But, anyways, we have our first witness, who is Larry Visosky. Is that how you would say that?
That's my best guess.
Yeah, he was the pilot for Epstein, and he recalled flying people like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Kevin Spacey. He was asked to describe Miss Maxwell's standing in Epstein's operations, and he described her as the number 2. Epstein was the big number 1. He served as Epstein's pilot for over 25 years. He testified that he had never seen any sexual activity during trips, although the cockpit door was always kept closed during flights on the plane nicknamed the Lolita Express. He also recalled flying Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who says she was sexually assaulted by Prince Andrew. And we talked a lot about her in our last episode. He was asked if he remembered Miss Giuffre, and he said yes, a shorter woman with dirty blonde hair. She didn't look young. I mean, whatever you decipher is the definition of young, but she was a woman in my category. And he was asked to describe Maxwell's relationship to Epstein, and he said it was more personal than business. I wouldn't characterize it as romantic. Do you have anything else on what the pilot said? No?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
I do want to say, like, this is just random, but it makes it sound so official and cool. The, like, name of the case is USA versus Ghislaine Maxwell.
I know.
Like, the fact that you have, like, USA versus you just makes it so much scarier sounding.
I know, but for some reason I feel like she still doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, like, been her whole vibe. Also, side note, I heard this interesting story that, like, you know how in the courtroom they have the people that draw what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, during the trial, Ghislaine was drawing the woman drawing her, and then, like, would mouth things with her, like, to her, like, oh, it's a long day or whatever, like shit like that, and like claims that they're friends.
What the heck? I need to know if that's like true or not.
I don't know. I think I heard it in like a podcast that came on.
Holy God.
Okay, so one of the next witnesses was, she only used her first name. Her name was Carolyn. And she claimed she once saw a photo of Ghislaine Maxwell nude and pregnant inside of Jeffrey Epstein's Florida mansion. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I was a little bit thrown off by that too. But, okay, she was asked by the defense attorneys about these statements that she previously made to prosecutors and said, one of your memories about Maxwell is you claim that you saw a photograph of her in Epstein's house pregnant, correct? And she said, nude and pregnant, laying on the... And then they interrupt her and said, and pregnant. Like, I hate how people act in the courtroom. Like, they're just so extra for no
It's serious, I swear.
And she said, yes, there were multiple pictures, nude photos. And Maxwell reportedly never had children, nor did anyone at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion ever report her being pregnant. The pilot, who regularly interacted with Maxwell for about 15 years from the early 1990s to the mid-2000s, said he'd never known her to be pregnant. The attorney asked the pilot, in that whole time period, Ghislaine never appeared to you to be pregnant, did she? He said, no, not at all. And the attorney said, and you never saw any pictures of her pregnant at any of the residences? And he said, no, I did not. So, like, I don't know where this comes from, but Carolyn told the jury how she was introduced to Epstein and Maxwell at the dead sex offender's Palm Beach home in the early 2000s when she was just 14. She testified that Epstein abused her during so-called massage sessions over 100 times at the estate over the next few years, until she turned 18 and realized she was too old for the creep. At 18, you're too old for... The witness broke down several times while testifying. She eventually became addicted to cocaine and pain pills during the years she was at the Epstein house, and says, my soul is broken and so is my heart as a result of Maxwell's alleged actions. I'm just so curious as to how was she actually pregnant or not? Like, I doubt it. But like, part of me
so
thinks
weird, random.
Part of me thinks though that like she would have maybe been pregnant and then like given it up for adoption, like sold it off or something because she's horrible. Or maybe she like held it up to term and like got it aborted, or like I don't know. Maybe my dark mind is just taking over, but there's just so many things that could have happened that could account for her thinking she was pregnant.
So wait, did you say we actually have the picture of her pregnant, or somebody testifying that they saw a picture of her being pregnant?
One of the victims says that she saw pictures of her pregnant.
Okay. Just imagine, like, if she never was pregnant, and, like, the entire courtroom's arguing over, like, whether she's pregnant or not, and she's like, yo, like, are you joking right now? This isn't even a thing.
Wouldn't a doctor kind of be able to...
That's what I'm about to say. Like, I feel like we can't, like, make them test that. It's probably
I know,
legal in some way.
A little
but, yeah, like, we should be able to tell.
I don't know. Well, anyways, our next witness to the stand she goes by Jane to just keep it anonymous. She testified that Epstein took her to meet Donald Trump when she was just 14 in 1990s at Mar-a-Lago, his resort in Palm Beach, Florida. Jane didn't allege any improper behavior by Trump and didn't go into further detail about why she was at the resort. She acknowledged that in 1998 she took part in a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant that was associated with Trump. It wasn't immediately clear whether that was before or after the meeting at Mar-a-Lago. Jane recalled being on one of Epstein's private plane flights with Prince Andrew. That's something I want to know more about so bad. I just want him to crash and fall and be fucking Guilty.
Throwback to that clip of Prince Andrew
I
from
know,
our Epstein episode.
Sweating bullets.
Oh, jeez.
Gross. I'm gonna insert a picture here of just a screenshot of him sweating in that interview.
And I'm going to insert the audio right here.
Oh my god.
His interview.
Okay. So, where was I? Because that threw me off. Okay. Epstein's pilot testified that he remembers meeting Jane on one of his flights, but that he didn't know she was a minor. Jane revealed that she crossed paths with Trump a day after she testified in graphic detail that Maxwell trained her how to massage and sexually satisfy Epstein. Ew. She was regularly abused by Epstein and took part in orgies that included both Maxwell and Epstein at his homes in Palm Beach, in New York City, and on his New Mexico ranch. When asked, Jane described the sex as kissing, oral sex on each other, oral sex on Jeffrey, and full-on intercourse. Jane found her credibility questioned repeatedly by Menninger. I don't know how to say that, but it's Maxwell's attorney. And the attorney asked Jane, "Did you rehearse your testimony for direct questioning?" And she said no. And then the attorney produced a thank you note to Epstein that included the line, "You rock my world," and asked Jane whether she wrote it. And Jane said, yes, embarrassingly. Ew. Okay. But I mean, when you're manipulated like that, I guess you would kind of just say things like that in fear. Or maybe he made them talk to him like that. We'll get into more of that shit. They did tell people how to talk to them.
Yep, the rules that they had in the house were ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jane's not even her real name. She wanted to remain anonymous, which I don't really blame her. But did you see how the defense handled that when they talked about it? So in response to this testimony by Jane, the defense called up a expert on memory loss and memories, and basically was saying that over the past 20 years, after hearing everything in the media and
Sorry.
Bless you. But anyway, after hearing everything in the media and everything for over 20 years, they're basically saying that her actual memories are being replaced with what we hear in the media, and she's starting to believe that that was true. So they're basically saying none of that happens, and she's just made this all up in her mind from hearing it through the media.
Bullshit.
Which kind of sounds like the worst defense to everything. I don't
know. Then bring the freaking psychiatrist out there and prove that that's traumatic memories and she freaking remembers them. Let's put her under a little hallucin. What's it called? When they do the whole
hypnosis.
Yeah, that's the word. That, and see what she remembers. But I mean, that's too much. Just take her damn word.
Yes.
That's all. Okay, so Jane, under questioning by the prosecutor, Allison Moe, said that her family was strapped for cash and that Epstein paid some of their bills. She said that she regrets taking the money. Burying her face in her hands and bursting into tears, Jane said that she was seeking closure and that she had no financial stake in the outcome of the trial. Hopefully this just puts it all to an end and I can move on with my life. Jane was followed on the stand by her ex-boyfriend, who was an actor who was only identified by the pseudonym Matt. He said that Jane told him what she said Maxwell and Epstein did to her. He said Jane also confessed to her mother why Epstein had given her money. She told the mother that the money was not free, Matt testified. She was still mourning the death of her father when Maxwell and Epstein befriended her at 14 at an art camp in Michigan. Epstein was a big donor to this prestigious program and had a cabin near the camp. Jane said Maxwell acted like a big sister while at the same time luring her into sex trafficking. She admitted that she didn't tell the investigators about Maxwell's alleged involvement until after Epstein died in 2019. They did despicable things to me, and I didn't want to talk about them, she said. The prosecution ended its case. Oh, never mind. That gets into the next victim, but that's the end of Jane. Okay. There's still other people. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Annie Farmer takes the stand, and we talked about her and her sister Maria in the other episode. She was the first accuser to use her real name rather than a pseudonym in court. In the 1990s, just a little recap, her sister Maria was an employee for Epstein in New York City. She was an inspiring artist who had met Epstein at a show. He took an interest in helping her career and hired her to purchase art for him. She met Epstein, Annie, the sister, met Epstein in 1995, and he also took an interest in advancing her education. He offered to buy her a plane ticket to visit New York from Arizona, and later took them to the movie where he caressed her hand and rubbed her leg, only stopping when her sister looked over at them. She was 16 years old at that time. A few months later, she met Maxwell for the first time at Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. She was under the impression that it was an event for college-bound students, but when she arrived, there were no other students. She recalled how Epstein and Maxwell had appeared intimate, as if they were romantic partners. She said Maxwell had instructed her to massage Epstein, showing her how to do it. I did what she told me, Farmer testified. I felt very uncomfortable, and I wanted to stop. Pointing at the defendant in court, Farmer accused Maxwell of forcing her to undress and massaging her exposed breast. She had a sense that Epstein was watching. All of the women who have taken a stand against Maxwell say that she and Epstein initially expressed an interest in helping advance their education and careers before redirecting their relationship towards sex. Farmer says that she and her sister reported Epstein's sexual abuse to the New York police and the FBI in 1996. Both sisters say there were no follow-up at the time. And in the other episodes, we talked a lot about how the government and Epstein just manipulated his way out of everything until he finally was fucking arrested. But, defense lawyers for Maxwell rejected Farmer's testimony, alleging parts of her story were not backed up by evidence. Maxwell's attorney questioned whether her testimony had been influenced by money or the comments of other accusers. Farmer confirmed that she had received $1.5 million from a victim compensation fund created by Jeffrey Epstein's estate, and she said that she was in a WhatsApp group with other Epstein victims and was in email contact with Virginia Giuffre, who has been among the most vocal and Epstein accusers. And that's all I got on Annie.
Shouldn't the fact that Epstein killed himself to avoid all this just be proof enough for everybody to just understand that she's guilty?
I mean, look at
charge?
Brian Laundrie out here killing himself to not do the whole trial thing. Men. I'm sorry, no offense.
That sucks though. He screwed her with all the blame and questions and everything to be put just on her. Okay, not giving any sympathy to her once again, but
no, I mean. Ooh. Her freaking attorneys love to say that she's been used as a scapegoat because Epstein killed himself. Or whatever.
Definitely don't think she's been used as a scapegoat. I mean, she was just as guilty. It just happens.
Yeah.
Now there's only one person left alive.
Because her charges aren't even at the caliber that
Yeah.
Epstein's were. So she's being charged justly by what she freaking did.
Yeah.
It would happen regardless, I would hope. But anyways, central in this case has been the concept of grooming, which is psychologically preparing someone for sexual abuse, and it's disgusting. All four women who have testified so far say that Maxwell that's what it just sounded like when I stuttered. Anyways. I don't know, I'm in a silly, goofy mood. Okay. Anyways, all four women who have testified so far say Maxwell facilitated Epstein's abuse by creating trust and creating a relaxed, jovial environment that became increasingly sexual, arranging visits, and even participating in the sexual abuse herself.
And around this time, the prosecution actually brings up a clinical psychologist, Dr. Lisa Rocchio, to the stand to talk about how abusers groom their child targets. And so she goes ahead and says that adults who sexually abuse children commonly engage in a process that can be thought of as having 5 basic steps. First of all, they select a victim. Then they obtain access to and isolate their victims. They use lies and deception and manipulation to build trust and attachment. They desensitize the victim to physical and sexual touching. And then lastly, they maintain control to coerce the victim into accepting continued abuse. And that's kind of how they bring a psychologist and they say that, and then they relate all those steps back to how Maxwell treated these girls.
Yeah, I was literally like saying check,
Yep.
check in my head.
And that's kind of how they link Maxwell to Epstein in all these ways. The testimony was meant to bolster the government's case by establishing that Maxwell played a key role in making the girls vulnerable to Epstein. She said that the defendant took these girls on shopping trips, asked them about their lives, their schools, their families. She won their trust. She discussed sexual topics with them. She helped normalize abusive sexual conduct. She put them at ease and made them feel safe, all so they can be molested by a middle-aged man.
Yeah, not good shit. So, then something is brought up in the trial that everybody's been wondering about, and that's Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. So on day 4 of the trial, Government Exhibit 52 made its much anticipated debut. That sounds so legitimate, like the Government Exhibit 52. Epstein's little black book. But this is a book containing the telephone numbers and names for a huge roster of Epstein's wealthy and powerful friends, and presumably some of the people who've accused him of crimes. The book was introduced as the prosecution's witness. Juan Alessi was on the stand. Alessi was the butler slash driver slash gopher slash, what is a gopher?
I have no idea.
Me either.
It doesn't say chauffeur.
No. I don't know how to spell chauffeur.
Okay, I don't know, just making sure.
Anyways, but he did a lot at Epstein's Palm Beach, Florida house from around 1991 to 2002. He described the decadent atmosphere around the mansion, which he said was run like a 5-star hotel. He was expected to keep his wads of $100 bills always stocked in each of Epstein's cars. He said there were many women who hung around Epstein's house and they were topless 75 to 80% of the time. Maxwell, whom he called the lady of the house, took many photos of these topless women and displayed them in frames on her desk there. He said it was obvious that Maxwell was in charge of running the household, and she slept in Epstein's bedroom with Epstein. Earlier in the week, Jane had spoke about a sweet Latin American man who chauffeured her between her house and Epstein's. That day in court, it became clear that that was Alessi. He said he drove Jane to the house both with her mother and alone. He drove Jane to the movies with Epstein and Maxwell, and he drove her with her luggage onto the tarmac at the Palm Beach airport, where he saw her board Epstein's private plane with Epstein and Maxwell. Alessi also described the many people who would come to the house and give massages to Epstein, saying that 98% of them were women. After some of these massages, he would come in and clean up. Alessi would find a large dildo, like a man's penis with 2 heads, he said, near the massage table. He would wash it off and put it in a basket in Maxwell's bathroom because he knew that's just where it was kept. Alessi spoke about the end of his employment with Epstein It seemed he'd become fed up, and it was mainly Maxwell who bothered him. He hated the detailed, exhaustive checklist of tasks she made him perform around the house. At one point, she told him never to make eye contact with Epstein and to look at a different part of the room when Epstein spoke with him. Like, that's so absurd. I'm sorry. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care if you're the Pope or the Queen of England or the freaking head of the cartel. No. Anyways.
So, okay, before we go on any further, before we get too far past the little black book, I was just looking up like his black book in Google Images. I don't know why I just decided to do that, and it came up with this website called EpsteinBlackBook.com.
Oh, I saw that. It has everyone.
Well, it says enter his black book. You can like search names and it tells you if it's in the book or not. How is that a website online? Let's try one.
It's very, very famous.
Can I just type in Prince Andrew?
Go for it. It's probably not going to be in there under Prince Andrew.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, what would I type in?
Andrew. What is their last name? Queen Elizabeth what? Prince Andrew what? Like, what is their last name?
Wait, y'all, is this like a common thing that we don't know?
Prince Harry what?
Prince Andrew's last name.
Like...
Andrew Albert Christian Edward.
So they're all Edwards?
No, it looks like... Wait, maybe. No. I don't know. I don't understand how that works.
Well, Harry and the other guy are going to have different names because their mom's Diane and no, then their dad had the same name. I don't know, man. That whole royal family. Whatever.
See what happens when we type in Marina Moore.
Surprise!
Hey, there's some other Moores on here. Who's Deborah Moore?
I don't know. I know no Deborahs.
Alright, enough of that.
Okay. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. A few years after Alessi quit the job because he was very, very tired of it, his marriage fell apart and he ran into financial difficulty. At that point, he committed the gravest mistake he's ever made in his life. He snuck through an unlocked sliding door at Epstein's house and stole $6,300 from Epstein's desk. Epstein soon called him and, having seen Alessi on security footage, confronted him about the theft. Epstein decided not to press charges and Alessi paid the full sum back. Alessi still seemed grateful even today for Epstein's mercy. He extended no such fondness to Maxwell. He said the massive household manual she gave him demanded enough work for many times more people than were on staff, and he found many of the chores degrading. The prosecution entered pages from this manual into evidence. The manual instructed Alessi to warm creamer full of half and half for Epstein's coffee in the microwave for precisely 25 seconds. It insisted he replace tissue boxes once they were 1/3 full. It said he must never disclose Epstein or Maxwell's whereabouts or activities to anyone who inquired. And I could only imagine what else is on that list.
I know. Dude, imagine being him, though, and after being mistreated like this for all those years, in court testifying against her, and she can't do anything but sit there.
And draw her pictures of the freaking whatever. This case is like literally a comedy case at this point. Okay. So, another witness, or victim I should say, goes by, or we only know as Kate, and she is a 44-year-old British woman. She said she was 17 when she met Maxwell on a trip to Paris and continued their friendship when they were both in London as she was a lonely teenager. Hold on. My phone's blowing up and I'm throwing it across the room. Okay. She was a lonely teenager with few friends and she looked up to Maxwell. Maxwell later introduced her to Epstein and asked Kate to fill in for a massage therapist who canceled on Epstein, leading to a sexual encounter between Kate and Epstein. I just, literally every time I get that mental picture of like just how awkward that must be. And how these girls just don't up and run on that first freaking time. Like, I mean, I'm not judging, but like, it's just so gross.
Probably because it feels like, I don't know, I try to look at it through there and think about somebody that I trust a ton doing something. You don't want to think that they're doing that to you.
Like, I can't even imagine what their mind is going through, but anyways, let me continue. Okay. Maxwell gifted Kate with a small Prada bag for her 18th birthday shortly after the incident, almost as to say, oh, you did a good job. Sorry that happened, but here you go. And she testified that, gifts were a typical part of Maxwell's process of grooming victims for Epstein. Kate said Maxwell asked on another occasion if she knew anyone who would perform a sex act on Epstein in Maxwell's stead, saying he liked girls who were cute, young, pretty, like you. Maxwell bragged that she was friends with lots of famous people like Prince Andrew and former President Donald Trump. The district judge, Allison Nathan, told the jury that Kate is not a victim of the crimes charged in the indictment and should be considered only a witness because she was over the age of consent at the time in the relevant jurisdictions. And then Maxwell's legal team tried to discredit Kate by saying her memory may be hazy because of her abuse of cocaine, alcohol, and other substances, but Kate maintains the memories of significant events in her life have never changed. The defense also pointed out that Kate has previously spoken out against Epstein without using a pseudonym in media appearances, and Kate told the court that she wants to protect her identity now for her son's sake. Kate continued to stay in contact with Epstein into her 30s, even while he was incarcerated, and terminated contact after the birth of her child in her early 30s. Kate said that she accepted a $3.25 million settlement from the fund to compensate victims of Epstein. That was kind of rude of the judge, though, to be like, you can't count her story because she was of the age of consent. It's still sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Like, I get it as a different charge if it's a minor, and that's what Phileas Maxwell is getting tried for, but still, it just goes to show that she's capable of doing these things, if nothing else.
And then, I don't know, like you said that you were trying to say that they were discounting her story because of her abuse of cocaine and stuff. And then, I don't know if you said it, but the Alessi guy that was calling him out, or calling her out, they were, like, when the defense cross-examined him, they were basically just, like, focusing on the fact that he stole. And they were saying he has, like, monetary gain to get from this, and he's a thief, and that's, like, how they counter it. Like, they just keep attacking these people's character instead of, like, saying, hey, here's, like, the facts, how are you going to save it from that?
They just make everything about money. It's disgusting. Like, oh, we have so much money, they're just coming for it in any way they can.
Yeah. Whenever they were picking the jurors, they had to make sure that nobody had a prejudice against rich people. I heard that was, like, a big thing on their list. But they also had to find people that knew nothing about Epstein in general. And how do you live today and don't know anything about Epstein?
I know. I saw something where, like, their pool of candidates was, like, 600, and they had to narrow it down to, like, what, 12?
Yeah. That's so crazy, though. Like,
I'm so curious as to, like, how the jury is going to respond to all of it and, like, what they're going to be told. I don't know. I'm just scared that, like, what if she gets away with it? Like, what is the public gonna do?
Bro, no way. There's, like, no way she gets away with this.
I know. I'm not even gonna try to speak it into existence.
Yeah, we're not manifesting that.
Elaine Maxwell's gonna spend life in jail. Yes. Okay. So, let's lighten it up a little bit, I guess, and just talk about some of the people that we probably know that are in Epstein's book and maybe why they're in there. Okay, so first let's hit the target on its head. Several members of the Trump family, including the president or ex-president, his ex-wife Ivana Trump, and their daughter Ivanka, are listed in Epstein's book. So under Donald's name is contact info for his Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, the Trump Organization, 2 numbers for Melania, and numbers that are also listed for Trump security. Like, you can't tell me that these two weren't bros. Like, Trump can downplay it all he wants, but like after researching more about their relationship, they were bros.
Yep.
In every sense of the term. And they literally screwed each other over. No, Trump screwed, there was like this really big mansion or something on sale in Palm Beach, and Epstein wanted to install a pool in it, but he hadn't like bought it yet. But he brought Trump down to the house because apparently Trump had knowledge on how he could get a pool in there. I don't know. Anyways, Trump went behind his back and bought the house. And Epstein was pissed, wanted to sue him, because then Trump turned around and sold the house to like some foreign guy, I think, for like $98 million. So Epstein was pissed, and then they were never friends again.
How have I never heard that?
And then Epstein speculates that it's because of Trump that people started investigating him. But really, let's give that credit to the fucking victims. Okay, so next up, we've got the Kennedys. This is something I learned in this case. Andrew Cuomo was listed under the Kennedys, and I was like, hold up, what? And so I Googled, is he related to them? And he was married to Carrie Kennedy, who was the daughter of the late Attorney General and Senator Robert F. Kennedy until 2005. So, he used to be married to one, apparently.
Heard.
That's weird. But, like, he's scummy. We don't like him. So, a phone number and an address for Robert Kennedy's widow, Ethel Kennedy, are also in the book. Ted Kennedy Jr. is listed, which could refer to Edward Kennedy Jr., who was the former Connecticut senator and son to Ted Kennedy, the late Massachusetts senator. I didn't realize how full of politics their family is. Holy shit. And then several phone numbers, including an emergency contact line and email addresses and New York addresses, are listed for Robert Kennedy Jr. and his wife Mary. So, lots of Kennedys in the mix. Then we have billionaire Mike Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City, and presidential candidate at one point that I don't remember.
I feel like I remember that.
I don't remember that, but I don't really pay attention. I don't know. So, yeah, he was in the book. Then we have magician David Blaine. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
You ever heard of David Blaine?
I mean, his name didn't sound familiar, but his picture in the article, I was like, okay, yeah, I've seen him. So, yeah. But phone numbers for him were in there, and apparently Blaine had put on a private show for Epstein's dinner guests in 2003, and Blaine reportedly organized the dinner, which included a group of young women who were introduced as Victoria's Secret models. And then David's just up there doing card tricks. Can you just imagine him up there and then all these like models? I was like, David, you're...
Okay, but he does like crazy magic. It's not like card tricks. I guess like really cool stuff where he's like about to die in cages and stuff like that.
And then we got Alec Baldwin. And into
Didn't he just like shoot... That's so insensitive for you to say it that way. Let me not do that. Didn't he just accidentally kill somebody on set?
Yes, he did. And that's a whole thing in itself.
Yeah, we don't have to go into that.
Yeah.
Rip.
But in August 2019, Baldwin tweeted from the account of Hilaria, I hope that's right, Hilaria and Alec Baldwin Foundation, which he runs with his wife, The Russians killed Epstein. They're in charge of everything now. Like, imagine being just like a celebrity actor getting on your foundation's Twitter and tweeting, the Russians killed Epstein. They run everything.
That's
now.
so weird.
It's very like Elon Musk, Donald Trump of him. I don't know. They both, like, they all just, I don't know. Okay, then another interesting one is Courtney Love. Do you realize who she is?
Why does that sound familiar?
Kurt Cobain's ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or whatever.
Okay.
Widow. Yeah, widow of Kurt Cobain. So, her Beverly Hills address was listed in Epstein's book, and Love tweeted in July after it was revealed that her name was in the book, "Hey, about my name in Epstein's address book. It's creepy as fuck that I'm in the thing. I agree. I didn't know him, never met him, didn't know who he was. Apparently he collected celebrity phone numbers. The end. Hope he burns in hell." I kind of believe her. Because, like, he does seem like the creep that, like, wants to sit at his desk and be like, I know all these people's information.
I agree. Like, I wonder if some of those people in this book, like, are kind of innocent, or maybe just had, like, a dealing with him in a way that wasn't like that, but still.
Yeah, I think that Epstein was just so weird in his head that he really wasn't supposed to be famous. He, like, scammed his way to the top. So the fact, I think, psychologically, I don't know, that the fact that he was surrounded by so many celebrities, the fact that he knew their information, he, like, wanted to document it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So then, a shocking one is Ralph Fiennes, I guess is how you pronounce that, but everyone knows him as Voldemort. He plays Voldemort in Harry Potter.
I'm glad you explained that, because I was confused this whole time, since before you told me before the episode. You're like, you know Voldemort's in his book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very confused. Okay. I thought we were talking like actual...
No, not under Voldemort. It was under his real name. Anyways, 4 phone numbers and an email address linked to the English actor were listed in the book. So, I guess Voldemort really is just as scummy as we thought.
Just scummy.
Okay, Sir Mick Jagger. I didn't know he was a sir.
Why is he a sir?
I don't know, I guess when you're in the Rolling Stones, you get knighted. Didn't, Elton John or something get knighted? And, he's Sir Elton John, I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
I don't know anything about how that works. I want to get knighted.
This is what I've been saying. Maybe this needs to be the next episode, but, everything that goes on in the English royal family, are they the ones that knight these people? Because,
who else? Learn, English basic history.
I mean, probably. Okay, but yes, Sir Mick Jagger, they had 2 phone numbers, and, okay, yeah, obviously his phone number was in there. Then we have Tom Ford and Richard Buckley, and this was interesting. Ford, who, that these are designers, and his husband. Ford owns 22,000 acres of property in New Mexico, not far from Epstein's ranch. So wouldn't be surprised if they were buddies. And then the former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair's number was in his book. The founder of Virgin Atlantic Airlines, Richard Branson. And interestingly enough, he is one of the only people that after this all came out, all the names, he had spokespeople come out and say, Richard has literally only met him once for about 5 minutes. That's the extent of it. That makes you look more guilty, bro. Just saying. And then we have Naomi Campbell. She acknowledged her ties to Epstein in an interview in the summer of 2020, saying, "Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend, Flavio. He was not always front and center he was always front and center at Victoria's Secret fashion shows. What he's done is indefensible. When I heard what he had done, it sickened me to my stomach. just like everybody else, because I had my fair share of sexual predators, and thank God I had good people around me who protected me from this. I stand with the victims. They're scarred for life. Then we have Janice Dickinson. Do you know who she is?
No.
She claims to be the world's first supermodel.
She claims, like, people dispute her on that?
I don't know.
That's
I don't know, man. But if you saw a picture of her, you'd probably recognize her, because I think she's had a lot of plastic surgery done. And
Janice Dickinson?
Yeah. I wonder if it's who I've been picturing this whole time. Like, if her face just looks like a bunch of plastic surgery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's her. So, she was in the book. Epstein had 3 phone numbers listed for her who claimed, the first supermodel. And, of course, we have Prince Andrew. We have convicted sex assailant and comedian Bill Cosby, who was Epstein's former neighbor. Interesting. Clinton's daughter, Chelsea Clinton. Former Secretaries of State Harry Kissinger and John Kerry, who I'm very proud that I remember who he is from our Antarctica episode, because I did not know who he was then. Okay, then we have late Saudi arms dealer Adnan Khashoggi, I don't know, but the fact that you have arms dealers from Saudi Arabia. Okay, movie director Woody Allen. Let's see. What is the... There was a woman whose name appears on flight manifest of Epstein's jet is one of 5 women who Epstein recommended as an assistant for Charlie Rose, the then host of a PBS talk show. Rose ended up hiring 3 of Epstein's recommendations. One of those women, who later was among more than 24 who accused Rose of sexual misconduct, was quoted saying, "I was being offered up for abuse by Epstein." So, Charlie Rose's name was in the book. That's why that was in there. Okay. But the defense has argued that there's no proof that all of those instances involve the same book, apparently. Like, people are, the defense or whatever. I'm getting so tired of using court terms.
Yeah. I wish this court thing was televised.
I know, but Lord knows it wouldn't. Ghislaine would never.
I read why it wasn't, and I don't even remember exactly what it said. There was, like, a reason where it couldn't be. But, like, after watching, like, the entire, like, Rittenhouse case televised and stuff, and, like, seeing how much we got to look into it, like, I wish we could do that with this one.
I know. But I feel like Maxwell literally is so controlling and wants everything to be confidential to the point that she can control.
Yeah.
So on Thursday, the U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan ruled that the Book of Contacts can be introduced in the trial. That doesn't mean the evidence will become public. In negotiations, the prosecution and defense have agreed that only excerpts of the book will be introduced. So, what's next then? The prosecutors in the Maxwell sex trafficking trial have rested their case after 2 weeks of testimony, and the defense began today, and the court says that the trial, blah, 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 that was copy and pasted from an article that's outdated. Anyways, so the defense trial started today, as we were talking about.
Did you hear about them bringing the massage table into the courtroom?
No.
Yeah, during one of the days of testimony, the prosecution brought an actual massage table from his mansion and set it, like, in front of the jury, and it just sat there the entire time. Like, how powerful of a statement is that? And, like, the entire time you're just looking at that massage table and thinking about the things that happened on it.
Oh my god, that's intense. I'm glad they did that though.
Yeah,
that's kind of like a fuck you, Maxwell.
Yep.
At this point, do you just want to, like, see if anything interesting happened in the defense trial today?
Yeah, let's see what's going on, because I know I was trying to look before I came over here, and I didn't see much. Let's see, Epstein.
I know they're saying that...
Not Epstein.
they're expecting it to only last a few days for the defense, and that they're expecting like the jury to be longer than how long the defense will be. But that's only if the jury truly, I guess, had no idea what was going on. Because I feel like, how do you not know anything? And then how do you just think she's innocent? Oh, Winnie, I wish you could talk. I have my cat in my lap. I would love to know what you have to think. I just want to chew on your hand, Mom.
So it looks like they called back that false memory expert to the stage.
Ooh.
Apparently she's been called to stand in about 300 trials since 1975. So, like, what is this lady? Like, anytime that you need to just say, like, a piece of evidence that's real, you call her, and she just shows up to come talk at your trial as an expert.
It sounds like a bunch of those, like, bullshit scientists, like, call up to stand a freaking, I don't know, tire, what's it called, skid mark analysis or something.
It looks like they called up Kimberly Espinoza, who worked as Maxwell's executive assistant from November 1996 until around 2002, and she told the jury she looked up to the accused madam. She said, "I highly respected Ghislaine. I looked up to her very much." She said that the British socialite was Jeffrey Epstein's property manager and that she learned a lot from her demanding boss over their years working side by side. She denied ever seeing Maxwell or Epstein engaged in inappropriate activity with underage girls. Imagine standing up there and testifying on her behalf. Like, what?
No, I don't believe it. You was in on it too. You need to be arrested too. Because that name sounds familiar. I think, because like I remember at some point seeing like a web of like Epstein and his associates. And like he had not just Maxwell as one of his women out there recruiting girls.
So it looks like...
That makes me think, like, you remember, like, when you, like, were growing up, I don't know, you're a guy, so maybe this thought never crossed your mind, but, like, you're watching Disney Channel, and, like, maybe there's this show, and, like, this girl is just walking through a mall, and then a guy notices her and says, "Hey, I work for a model agency, you should come be a model," and it's like, "Oh, I was found in the mall." That makes me wonder, like, were all those people that those stories were based off of, like, Epstein's people? Or Trump's people? Because Trump had model agencies. Duh. And they were very intertwined in that world. Very intertwined.
Yes, it looks like that's about all that ended up happening. But it looks like before the day ended, Customs and Border Protection took to the stand and was asked to inspect records of international travel for 3 of Maxwell's accusers, Jane, Kate, and Annie Farmer. But it seems like not too much craziness happened besides that memory expert took the stand and her assistant took the stand today.
So they're trying to see if, like, those girls were actually on those trips that they said they went on or something?
I guess so. I don't know if we'll hear more about that come tomorrow or what.
If only Virginia was on trial. She literally has a picture with Prince Andrew to prove it.
Yep.
But I guess that's all we're going to talk about today regarding this, because holy crap, when you just start talking about a bunch of fucked up shit, it's just exhausting. But we'll definitely keep y'all updated. Like, I'm sure we record our next episode in 2 weeks. I'm sure the trial will probably be over by then, and we'll give an update on what happened. Anything else?
That's all I have, y'all. Well, thank y'all for coming in and listening to an episode every single week. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials at Southernwood Podcast, or you can follow me at Kayla Mercado.
And me at Marina Renee.
Alright, y'all have a great week. We will see y'all around Christmas time next coming up week, and stay woke.
Bye!